Nothing gets the old heads fired up like Pete Rose.
Yeah, we can get to those calls.
Oh my
Well, it's such a great conversation.
Wiggy's fired up about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just, it's like we have the conversation. Excuse me, I got a little bacon. I got stuck down there like
All right.
stuck in the little gullet there. Matter of fact, let me get a little water.
Sean's so right, though, when it comes to this. Like, the baseball writers are such hardos, they're not going to let him in anyway. So that's like, yeah, it's
They
nice.
should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, that's what it is,
I
though.
don't
They should
think
be
Pete
ashamed
has
of
that
themselves.
ability.
Well, you should. Like,
Should
when
they be ashamed because they're writing about baseball?
Well,
or what?
no, I mean, listen, there are people out there who like baseball.
Does Bradfo have a vote?
Yes, he
Certain
does.
age limit.
Yep.
Yes, he does.
Oh.
Yes, he
But
does.
you should look in the mirror and go, okay, you should like to stop with this, like, higher than mighty type of mentality.
You're blocked.
Holier than holier than minister.
Thou. Holier than the minister. Like,
Yeah.
no, like people do things that are effed up. They run a foul off the field. They run a foul on the field. But how good of a player was that guy on the field? And what he did as a player, should that then not allow him to get in the Hall of Fame? Because remember, he bet on baseball, at least as we know, as a manager. So if you want to keep Pete Rose, the manager, out of the Hall of Fame, all right, so be it.
Kurtspiracy from Breeze Hill. I'm not aware of this, Curtis, but he was sent me a text when we were talking about this, saying that Shoeless Joe Jackson was not. There's a conspiracy that he was not a part of the fix because he hit 375 in that World Series and made no errors, and so he was framed as the guy when it was the other guys.
I didn't know that.
I can't tell you I know a thing about the Black Sox. But
Great movie. You never watched that movie? What's that called? 8 Men Out?
Yes. What was that? Why do I want to say Charlie Sheen was in it? Was he?
He was.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
he was.
and Michael Douglas.
Yes.
John Cusack.
Yes.
I love when I get a Doug laugh. It makes my day.
And I apologize to Rob Bradford because he actually has a pinned tweet on his page that says voting for the baseball hall should never be boring, always an honor. So
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't like, I always look at sports because we have this conversation, like, when you're talking about players that you know are Hall of Famers, and there's situations that you go, all right, obviously in the Pete Rose case now that, they're saying, all right, they lifted the, and then with the audio of him actually talking about it, it's kind of like heartbreaking when you hear a guy like that who's, I don't know how old he was when he passed away, but in his 80s, and he's, like his one dying wish before he dies is to get into the Hall of Fame for something that hands down he deserves to be in, and then you got all these morons that never even played a little league, or maybe played little league and sat on the bench, or like, Pete Rose can't get in the Hall of Fame.
But actually, his dying wish was that he hit on the 7-leg parlay that he had
that is true.
on FanDuel that day. But
it's
so I
pretty
don't
simple,
know.
Wiggy. It's not whether you played big leagues or little league. It's that
No,
if
I
you
get
can
it.
question the veracity of the outcome of an event, if a participant in the game is not on the level, then everything falls apart.
Yeah, but so okay, if we're going down this road, he bet on baseball when he was a manager. So why isn't the Pete Rose the player in the Hall of Fame?
that's a good point, Wiggs.
Because
That's your
the
best point
rule
yet.
is very simple. You are banned for life if you bet on baseball. It's on every clubhouse wall. It's in every contract you sign. It is as clear and black and white as it could possibly be.
but
and
there-
also, Wiggy, the assumption has always been that he bet as a player as well.
But you can't assume that.
Of course you can. He's lied about everything else.
But unless there's facts that show he bet on baseball as a player.
Well, he said he didn't for years until he realized he had to cop to it.
No, as a player, if there's no proof as a player, there's plenty of people that say, well, I don't do this, or people say he did this. Unless you can actually show me proof that he did it. The same with the steroid guys, right? Unless you can actually show proof that the guy did it, then how are you going to say, well, there's whispers and that kind of thing, and we're going based off of the whispers?
You want to get to the calls on this? Is Carl still there?
Oh, yeah.
Sean? Carl from Nantucket. Hey, Carl.
Hey, what's going on? Hey,
what's up?
First time, long time.
Thank you.
Hey, Shoeless Joe Jackson. I only remember from loving the movie as a kid. I think Brees stole my thunder, but he was spot on in that series. Like the only home run, 375, 2 doubles, 6 ribbies. Like the whole team may have been, guilty of collusion, but I gotta think, man, if you're on that level in the World Series, you're probably not trying to throw games.
Yeah, well, no errors.
Right.
So they blamed it all on him, or whatever.
Right. And so he's obviously not in the Hall of Fame, which he should be.
Yeah.
And
just for factual information,
he was on Curtis. Wasn't he on every Monday with Dale?
He was. Yeah.
Dale here.
Good morning, Dale. I'll be in Maine this weekend. So TJ Quinn at ESPN Outside the Lines had a story in 2015 where in 2004, after 15 years of denials, he admitted that he bet on baseball, and then new documents obtained by Outside the Lines in 2015 were notebooks that had overwhelming evidence that Pete Rose was betting as a player in the mid-'80s with the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You don't just suddenly decide.
No, I get it.
Hey, I'm a manager now.
Right.
I think I'm going to give this betting thing a
Right.
try.
No, I believe, listen, I believe he probably bet on it when he was a player. He bet on it when he was a manager. He probably bet on his own team. I believe he ran afoul of the game. But there's no denying. There's no
good play on words.
Oh, you like that?
Yes.
Yes. There's no
Put that pesky
denying.
pole up there.
There's no denying that Charlie Hustle should not be in the Hall of Fame.
That's
He's
a double.
I don't care what it is.
You
double
can't never
up.
have a player.
Well, you know what? Never, ever, ever have I seen a bigger joke than Major League Baseball and their writers for keeping out the greatest hitter to ever play the game of baseball and Pete Rose out of the Hall of Fame, knowing that the guy was in his 80s, and you would think, okay, you know what? He served his time long enough. Let's send him home.
Yeah. This is Bill from Newton. Hey, Bill.
Hey, guys, how are you?
What's up?
Listen, where I have a problem with this, and there's no doubt he bet, is where Curtis says when you got a guy who's actively trying to lose. They looked back at all of Rose's games when he was a manager, and they tried to find the scratch-your-head moment where, he clearly was trying to lose that game. They didn't find it. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do it, but, betting on a game as a manager is no different than when in 2001 when I bet every time Pedro was pitching. I knew he was going to win, so I bet on him. I think that's what he was doing.
But
and when
Bill, but what the point is...
Hold on.
Oh, 1 second. I'll let you finish.
Sure.
But the big point here is that it's what he was telling the people that knew, his bookies, when he didn't bet on the Reds. Even if you want to trust him and say he never bet against them. When he did not bet, that was betting against his team. To the betting markets.
I got you, but that still is no different than what you were saying earlier. Is he's not trying to lose. He didn't bet on every single game. I guarantee you, he wasn't betting on 162 games. But the bottom line is, if you're taking steroids, you are absolutely affecting the outcome of the game. I can tell you right now, in the year 2000, if I knew Barry Bonds was going to jump from a 30 home run guy to a 70 home run guy, I would have bet on every freaking game. I bet you the people in his organization knew that he was going to hit 70 that year. What's the difference?
The difference is that you are taking a substance to improve your performance. That's
You're
the difference.
affecting the game, Curtis.
Well, how do guys? Let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. How does a guy like, whether it's Alex Cora or some of those other guys, get caught or allegedly get caught for cheating on baseball, have the situations that they have, and then they're back in the game? You know, people do it with Bill Belichick. People say, oh, he cheated, and that affected, and there were situations where, like, they couldn't, like, prove, but they obviously found something. So how is it like guys
because
like that?
There is the way
wait a second. Where if you cheated and you did something wrong, you still are now allowed back in the game.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of the same thing?
No, you yourself said that there's one crime that should be punished, the rest are not as big of a deal. And what I'm saying simply is that it's not right to bang on a trash can and guess the pitch and get an advantage. He was punished. He was suspended a year because it was in an attempt to gain an advantage to win.
Right.
Not losing or tanking or questioning the veracity of the outcome in a game in an attempt to lose. Those are
for your
very
own
different.
personal gain.
Right, but if the caller just said that most of Pete Rose's bets were to win.
Right, but we don't.
But it wasn't like
But
Alex.
He's not going to talk
Courtney,
to that, Wiggy. That's the point.
But Courtney makes a good point. Alex Cora wasn't doing that. He was doing it to help the team.
Yes.
Not for his own personal benefit wagering.
And go back to that London series
isn't
when
it
the
still
Red Sox
wrong,
and
though?
Yankees
Yeah,
played
right.
in London. Remember this part. We can find the audio where
Yeah.
he's asked about the scandal, and he said, ask Baerga, or not Baerga. Who was the hitter on the Astros that was on the Yankees coaching staff?
Bregman? No, that was
Beltran. He said, ask Beltran about that. There were several things in baseball, whether it's tipping pitches, guessing pitches, all of that. The Apple
Watches.
Like,
No,
like
It
they-
all would have been fine if Pete Rose had a ride or die like Shohei.
Right.
You know what? Everything would have been fine.
Chris Carter was right all along. Just get a call guy.
Courtney, I agree that they were doing things. I just don't I don't get how that you see a guy like that and you go, "Oh, his crime was so bad that we can't put him in the Hall of Fame."
I mean, now that gambling is legalized in most states, should we just do away with the whole thing and let these guys all gamble on?
I need to know who's gonna be the fall guy.
Let him bet.
Shohei in line 7.
Well, they're already bet. They let him bet on sports. They're just saying you can't bet on your own sport.
Should we just let them? Like we can